Well, this is new. It's the Omoda E5. Yes, granted, it may have an unusual looking face, but then again, so do I. But wait till you hear the list of gadgets you get in this newcomer to the New Zealand market. It starts at $48,000, and for that, you get 430 Ks per charge. And wait till you see the list of gadgets this car has. Honestly, as it stands right now, I reckon this is the best value electric car you can buy in the country today. So let's see what it's like to drive. Let's begin with tech specs first of all, and there are two flavours of this car available. There is the BX, B for budget, and then there is the EX, E for extra stuff. As for both of them, they both get the same electric motor, which has 150 kilowatts driving its front wheel, so yep, it's front wheel drive. For that you get 340 torquing Isaacs, which is a lot of power to put to the front wheels in this car, which means that even if normal mode, if I put my foot down, the wheels spin! It means the 0 to 100 time in this car is 7.6 seconds, which is just a little bit faster than the massive V8 powered Dodge Durango GT. What a horrific looking vehicle. I'm so sorry you had to see that. Let's talk battery though, and this has a 61 kilowatt hour battery pack made of lithium iron phosphate, something for the battery geeks out there, which is a really hard wearing, long lasting battery chemistry that is also technically bulletproof. You can puncture it and they don't burst into flame, and quite ethical. No cobalt, no nickel, cheaper to produce, easier to recycle at the end of its life, although this has a really long battery warranty, 8 years on this car. And that's just the warranty, so you can be guaranteed that this battery is gonna outlast the car. Already at first glance, this car sounds very intriguing. Good price, good range, lots of gadgetry, good performance. My skeptical gland is pulsing though. It all sounds a little too good to be true, so let's dive deeper, starting with the looks. And if you are watching this New Zealand video for some reason in Old Zealand, up there in the nether regions, then you may know that Omoda is a fashion outlet. They sell some fairly unusual looking clothing styles, which is fitting because this has a fairly unusual looking front face, although, you know, as I mentioned, I can't talk. I'm not sure if I like it or loathe it. I asked you on the internet what you thought, and well, yeah, your responses were pretty harsh. I'm not sure. I mean, the front does kind of look like a stormtrooper. The back is kind of reminiscent of the Toyota BZX WD-40, but that doesn't mean it's ugly. I just don't know if I like it. My only worry is that if you're as old as I am, then you grew up in a time where cars had faces. You know, the headlights made the eyes, the grille made the mouth, and this has no discernible face, so you can never quite tell what it's thinking. As for the interior colors, well, this is it unfortunately. This is all Kiwis are gonna get. It's dark, it's grim, it's like my sense of humor. That being said, you can get mood lighting to spruce this thing up. In this top end model, yes, you can adjust the interior colors of the strip lighting in the vehicle. This makes it a little bit more lively, but still one little splash of color in a sea of dark. It's, well, it's like wearing bright hot pants to a funeral, which obviously I've never done. But to let a little light in this top spec model, you do get a sunroof, which is openable as well. And that lets in a bit more light. It just means that this black interior is guaranteed to be about 8,000 degrees Celsius in summer. And to make it more interesting, this only comes with black vinyl seats, regardless of the trim model you go for, the BX or the EX. So prepare your buttocks to be char-grilled in those sweet hot summer months. As for the seats, they are kind of firm, not uncomfortable, but very Tesla-like when you press down on them. However, the side support is excellent. It's got big, thick side bolsters, which means that if you're going around corners quickly, it will support you nicely, or if you're just a very big person, it will feel like every time you get in the car, you're being spooned. Well, this weather is fantastic. Okay, let's talk about seat height now. And even though I have the seat on its lowest setting, I really only have a couple of inches above my head. I'm 5'10", which wouldn't leave a lot of room for you if you're above 6 foot tall. That being said, even though this car is available as a combustion vehicle, which you'd have to be mad in 2024 to actually buy a combustion vehicle, you might as well start smoking. Even though it is available in a dirty version, it doesn't eat into the floor well. It doesn't have any noticeable transmission tunnel or exhaust pipe tunnel on the back. The floor is still nicely flat. That is smart. While we're back there though, check out the legroom and the headroom. Now, as I said, I'm 5'10", and there's a reasonable amount of room back there. It's not epic, but it's not bad. There's also a couple of ISOFIX points there if you've got kids seats, and there's also a fold-down armrest to protect your delicate elbows. As for ingress and egress from the driver's seat, the seat at its lowest setting is still at a really comfortable height thanks to that battery pack underneath it, which means that getting in and out of the car is a real piece of cake. And I'm not saying that I'm old and I need that sort of thing, but my Spotify playlist is exactly the same as the music they play at Pack and Save. But let us move on to storage, and this car has a fair amount of it. Let's start in the back. It has 380 litres of boot space with the seats up, but if you put those seats down, there is suddenly 1,075, which is good because that has not even covered the most impressive thing about this very affordable family car. It has something that almost no electric vehicles have, and that is a full-size spare tyre. Yes, look at that, a full-size spare tyre in the back. Only one other car I've tested has that, and that is the Peugeot e-Partner, which isn't even a car, it's a van. So to get a full-size spare tyre in 2024, that is a big deal. Because imagine if you've got kids in the back and you have a flat tyre in the middle of nowhere, which has happened to me, and I had to get the thing stuck on a flatbed truck, and then it was a drama. It took me 3 hours to get home. With this, you just chuck on the spare tyre and you continue your journey. Why doesn't every car have this? But before I get too carried away, there will be people in the YouTube comments, perhaps rightly so, saying, hey, I'm not buying one of those Chinese-made cars. What about the quality issues? And to be fair, 15 years ago, that was a genuine concern. Some of the cars coming out of China then were not very good. But China has made leaps and bounds in the last 15 years, in the same way that the difference between a 1975 Japanese car and a 1990 Japanese car, that's just 15 years, is night and day. The same thing has happened with Chinese manufacturing. The cars coming out of China now, like this, you look at the fit and the finish, is breathtaking. It's actually frightening if you're a legacy car maker, because the Chinese are getting very good very fast. But let us start with gadgets. This is always my favorite segment. And this car has lots of it. So much of it, like 2 pages of gadgets. Let's start with the seats. It has seated heats in both the front seat and the passenger seat. And in this top spec model, it has seated heats in the back seats as well. Yes, with rear controls as well. Plus, it also has, this is the coolest feature that not many electric cars come with, but they should. It has the option of vehicle to load, which means that you can plug a device into the side of the car and it can draw electricity out of it, which is great if you have a power cut or if you go camping and you just want to take your TV for some reason because you're an annoying person. Now, there is no vehicle to load adapter available yet, but it has the option, and the dude I was speaking to at Omoda said that, yeah, it's gonna happen. So watch this space. I'm very excited about that. I mean, Tesla doesn't even have vehicle to load, and they should. And you get this out of a car that's $48,000. This top spec one also has a heated steering wheel, as you would expect. However, it does not have a heat pump. It has a regular old-fashioned induction heater, which is not as efficient in winter, although the seats, they are electronically adjustable on both sides. Oh, and it also has a negative ion air cleaner and a particulate matter filter. And I had to figure out what on earth, how that works. And what it does is it pumps out negatively charged ions into the air, which cling to dust and microbes and stuff, and makes them heavy, makes them fall down. Just gives you real clean air, which is great because Auckland still has a lot of dirty diesel vehicles, which means that you can drive around, recirculate the air, scrub it clean. You're driving in what is an eco chamber of freshness. It also has anti-pinch windows, which, as I found out, they do work. But the piece of resistance is this, what you're looking at when you're driving it, dual 12.3-inch displays, which are bright and colorful. And what's really cool is that they have their own built-in map system, much like the BYD system. You don't have to only use Apple and Android, which it has, and it's wireless. It's incredible. And it's also voice controlled. Like, check this out.
Hello.
Navigate to Penrose. Okay, well that worked this morning, but it's not working now. However, it does have other functional...
I haven't mastered this
Shut up, shut up. Oh, crikey. Oh yeah, that's the thing I want to mention, is that it needs a bit more traction. Unfortunately, the wheels really lose traction when you're accelerating, especially in the wet. It's just a slightly overly powerful car for those front tires. Continuing with gadgets, it also has wireless phone charging, as you'd expect. It's got this little pocket here, which my phone fits in there perfectly, and it's got a little thing there for your finger to lift it out. It's all very well engineered, and it's a 50-watt wireless phone charger. So it'll charge fairly quickly, which is good, because if you're using Android and Apple stuff, it drains the battery pretty fast. What's really interesting, though, is the camera system. It's got a fantastic bird's eye camera system, which allows you to give you a 3D effect on the car, and you've even got controls here for the stuff you're going to adjust constantly at night. Like I can increase the brightness here, or increase and decrease the volume of the woman that's talking to me on the car. Other features this car has that I've only seen in one other vehicle is the ability to walk up to the back of the car if you have the function turned on. And if you stand there long enough, for example, if you've got bags full of groceries, it will detect you're there and open up the boot automatically for you. That's kind of smart. As for the sound system, you have two options. In the BX entry-level version, you get a 6-speaker system, but here in the EX Luxury version, you get an 8-speaker Sony system, which is not bad. Actually, I'm struggling to find fault with it, but then again, I've only had the car for a few hours. Let's take it on the motorway and see if I can't pick this thing apart. As I get onto the motorway, now's a good time to change the driving mode into eco mode. It's got sport, normal and eco, and every time you change the driving mode, which you can do by pressing this button, it talks to you.
Normal mode. Sport mode. ECO mode.
ECO mode, which I guess means eco mode. Okay, I'm also going to turn on the autonomous driving. Yep, this car drives itself, sort of. It's got level 2 autonomous driving, which takes care of your braking, your steering, and your accelerating, but you're still in control. You still have to hold the steering wheel. And to do that, I'm going to press this button on the steering wheel here. Set. To be brutally honest, I'm not expecting it to be very good, because good level 2 autonomous driving needs good software and really good hardware, and those two things cost a lot of money, and this is a stupidly affordable car. So let's see if it maintains its place in the lane, if it maintains the distance in front of the car naturally, like a person would, or is it going to be kind of erratic and nomadic? Let's find out. I'm going to relax my hands gently. All right, it's doing a reasonable job. It sails around the lane a little bit from the left and the right, so you can see the steering wheel going left, right, left, right. It's not epic, to be fair. It's nothing like a Tesla or a Volvo or BMW, but it's not bad. That being said, we've got a lot more to uncover in this video. What's this car like to live with? How fast is the charging speed? And what are all the little flaws I find out, and how efficient is it? Well, all of that's coming soon. In fact, it's coming in the very next scene. And now that I've lived with the car a few days and it's stopped raining, I can list the things I don't really like about it, but first let's talk efficiency. Now the official figure is 15.5 units of electricity per 100k, that's how much it drinks, which is not bad. My efficiency, however, has been higher, much higher, 19 kilowatt hours per 100k. Now that's pretty thirsty, and the reason for that, in full disclosure, is I have driven it hard in horrific conditions, torrential conditions, at speed on the highway, running the headlights and the air conditioning all the time, so I'm more likely to get, in those conditions, about 310 k's per charge. But if you drive this normally and in the city, you're more likely to get 400 k's per charge. One interesting thing about this car though is that it has drum brakes on the rear, which is not normal. Most cars have disc brakes, except the Volkswagen ID.4. That also has drum brakes on the back, because drum brakes just are slightly less resistive. They have a little less drag than disc brakes, and it just maximizes every single metric ounce of electricity that you put into your electric car, which should be Ecotricity electricity. Here comes the plug. Now, if you've heard these plugs before, I'm going to put something entertaining in the corner of the screen to hold your attention. If you don't know who Ecotricity is, well, then you're in for a treat. It's New Zealand's only certified climate positive electricity provider. And that means every single electron they provide is sourced only from wind, hydro, and solar, nothing else. It is clean, it's green, and it's also really affordable because there's no dirty or expensive imported coal and gas. Yes, the website's right there on the screen, ecotricity.co.nz. Why aren't you flying over there now to sign up, save some cash, join the good fight, leave the planet in a better place for your kids and their kids. But now, as I begin to accelerate and put this car into some country corners, let me list the things I don't love about it. The suspension, I should point out, though, is fine. The body is tight, there's no scuttle, no rattle. However, there are things I don't like about it, starting with all the bings and bongs. It's a bit nanny-ish. It's monitoring me constantly, it's monitoring the lines in the road constantly, and it beeps and chirps all the time. Fortunately, you can turn a lot of that stuff off. You can just go into the menu and turn it off, and the best news is that it stays off. Except this. There's little cameras here under the sensor, and they monitor me all the time. And if I look at the dashboard for more than 1 second, yes, it will tell you, stop looking at me. Every time you look at the dashboard for more than a second, you can turn it off, but that's the one thing that will turn back on every time you start the car. Another minor complaint I have is the menu here is a little bit busy. There's so much stuff in this car, and it's all hidden in menus and sub-menus. Imagine Hyundai's layout, but from wish.com. That's kind of what this is like. It's not bad, it just means that you will have to do a little bit of learning. For example, the regen braking, to turn that off, it's in a sub-menu. It's not where you think it would be under vehicle settings. And also, that's my next complaint, is that the delivery of the regen is not as smooth as you might think. You might want to turn it up to maximum and take your foot off the accelerator. Well, that regen doesn't kick in until about a second after you take your foot off the brake, and that's a little unnerving. Same goes for the acceleration. If you mash the accelerator, ooh, wheel spin, and then take your foot off, oh, it accelerates. It keeps accelerating at maximum acceleration for about half a second. And it may not sound like much, but that half second is a little unnerving. Now, these are all things that I think can be fixed with software updates. However, this car doesn't have over-the-air software updates, so that will only happen when you take it into the dealer for its next service. And hopefully, if you guys are watching this at Omoda, you might want to just smoothen out that regen braking and that power delivery. Make it a bit more binary. And one last little complaint about this car is the charging speed at DC rapid charges. It's just not epic in 2024, as you're about to see in the Spudscore.
Starting with performance, and I'm giving it 6 potatoes out of 10. It's quick enough, but it has trouble putting all that power to the pavement. As for handling, 6 spuds again. It tackles corners well and feels secure, although the steering can feel a bit vague if you're really pushing it. Comfort's next, and after putting 500 Ks on the odometer, I'm giving it 6 potatoes yet again. Its long wheelbase, moderate weight, and low center of gravity make it glide along the highway, although its Kumo tyres are really loud on coarse chip roads. As for efficiency, it's actually pretty good if you drive it normally or at city speeds, so it gets an above average 7 spuds. Gadgetry is where the E5 shines, or at least the top spec EX model does. It's got toys that even many expensive cars don't, like seated heats in the front and the back, wireless Android Apple, anti-pinch windows, high-speed wireless phone charging. Even the center console has a little air vent tapped into the rear vents to pipe air through, keeping whatever device is in there cool or warm. I've never seen that before. It's ingenious. This car also comes with vehicle to load capability. Color me impressed. It gets a well-earned 10 potatoes. Values next, and I'm giving this top spec model 8 spuds for all the reasons you just heard. Hit the subscribe button to see how well the super cheap entry-level version compares, because I'm picking one up as soon as it gets off the ship. As for charging, this is where I have to hold back on the potatoes. I took it to a hyper rapid charger from ChargeNet, taking its battery from 14% to 80%, which is a typical amount on a road trip, with the car sitting at around 80 kilowatts for most of the time, taking 35 minutes to charge. Now that's not a bad time, but it's not amazing in 2024, so 5 spuds. As for style, you made your opinions pretty clear. I wouldn't say I love it, but I don't dislike it either. It's inoffensive, so I'm giving it 5 spuds. But is it fit for purpose? Well, as a family car, I'm going to say yes. It gets 9 spuds because it's got a great safety rating, it's gadget laden, and it's comfortable with a decent warranty. Even the charging port is in a really convenient location, even though I know you'll all disagree with me. Plus, it even has a small fartment or front compartment under the bonnet. As for towing, it has no tow rating as yet, but unofficially, I've heard that it'll likely be rated to tow 750 kilos of braked load. But you didn't hear that from me. I mean, obviously you just did. Anyway, next is potato storage capacity. I'm giving it 7 out of 10 for holding 52 spuds. Thing is, I would have given it a higher rating for this awesome central storage tray, but during potato cornering tests, many spuds fell out, rendering the tray useless due to its low lip. This means the top spec Omoda E5 has a total spud score of 69. For comparison, the base model MG4 did score higher, though this was largely due to style, while the Omoda E5 beat the entry-level BYD Dolphin on performance and space.
And that's the guts of the Omoda E5 electric car. Pretty good value. Not perfect. It could do with some refinement in terms of power delivery and also regen braking, but bang for buck, it's very impressive. I mean, compare it to, say, a Toyota RAV4. That sells really well in New Zealand. Similar size, similar weight, similar dimensions, and similar target market. And yet this, even the base model of this car, you get more gadgets than the RAV4. It's cheaper to run. There's no pollutants coming out the exhaust pipe because this doesn't have one. And most importantly, the most staggering thing is that the base model of this costs less than the base RAV4. I mean, I knew the day would come when electric family cars would cost less than combustion family cars. I just didn't think that day would be today.